Hey, welcome to the Virtually Speaking podcast, coverage of VMware Explore 2025. John, it's day 3. How you feeling? Are you ready for the pool party?
You know, I'm feeling a little cloudy. I'm feeling a little floaty, you know. Maybe it was lunch. I don't know what it is, but I'm ready. I'm also ready, though, to get back down to reality. And yeah, no, the pool is probably the next place I'm going to be.
Yeah. Hopefully it's not too Cloud Foundry out there. You know what I mean?
Oh, hey. I see what you did there.
We're talking a little Tanzu, but certainly can't talk about Tanzu without talking about Cloud Foundry. And joining this conversation is a good friend of ours, Mr. Nick Kuhn. Nick, welcome to the podcast.
All right. Well, thanks for having me. I'm Nick Kuhn. I do tech marketing at VMware Tanzu, and I'm a longtime listener.
First-time caller.
First-time caller. I'm listened to you when I was a customer a long time ago, and continue on ever since. So thanks so much for what you do. It's a great podcast. I really enjoy it and happy to be here.
Oh, thanks, man. Yeah. Appreciate that. By the way, I am also a subscriber to your podcast, which, by the way, is the Cloud Foundry Weekly.
Yeah, you can check it out at cloudfoundryweekly.com. And if you're interested in what we're talking about here, check that out. We have live episodes every week to really kind of deep dive into Tanzu Platform and Cloud Foundry Weekly. So
yeah,
thank you.
I do want to start by talking a little bit about, what Tanzu is and what Tanzu isn't.
Right.
And certainly in relation to Cloud Foundry.
Right, yeah. So a common theme this week has been kind of like getting a refresher on what Tanzu is. And I've talked with a lot of customers. We had, 3 Meet the Expert sessions, and a lot of questions around Kubernetes, VMware Container Service, around VCF, and I think the announcements that having the VMware Kubernetes Service be part of VCF has been well received, and you get that additional value for no extra charge. So as we're talking, going from to VCF 9, everyone's looking to upgrade, and they're like, well, how does Tanzu, thinking Kubernetes, fit into that play? But we just kind of want to level set the stage that the VMware Kubernetes Service is now owned and maintained by the VCF division within Broadcom, and all of the Kubernetes pieces and components transferred into VCF. So if you think of Tanzu Kubernetes Grid, which is now VMware Kubernetes Service, Tanzu Mission Control, Service Mesh, those are all now part of the VCF division. So those folks are rolling that into VCF and giving that additional value, which is
all
great.
That's VKS.
Yeah, VKS, right? Yeah, so that's the one big update that people have questions about. So then the next big kind of question is, what is Tanzu, right? So if we go back, back to when Tanzu was formed, I think 2019, 2020 era, VMware. VMware equivalent VMware acquired a company called Pivotal Software, and they also acquired a company called Heptio. Pivotal was a startup that was running a PaaS, or platform as a service, based on Cloud Foundry. They ran database technology like Greenplum and Gemfire, and they had the Spring ecosystem as well. So that came into Tanzu, and then through the Heptio acquisition, they brought in a bunch of Kubernetes assets as well. So essentially, if you think about it now, Tanzu is what remains of the Pivotal Software technologies, and think of all the Kubernetes stuff are now just within the VCF BU.
So from a dividing line, if I think of Kubernetes, it makes sense, because Kubernetes I think of as an infrastructure as a service thing. Right. I know some developers may be opinionated on it, but that's kind of weird. Hopefully we'll stop that. But
yeah.
The rest of this, that you got IaaS, so this is about PaaS, platform as a service.
Right, exactly. Yeah. So and then if you think about what PaaS, there was a slide on the general session. I don't where in the
I'm going to need the exact minute.
Yes, yeah. But it had VMware Tanzu Platform at the very top, that PaaS layer. So if you want to have like the most simplified experience from a developer perspective, you're going to maybe think about a PaaS, and where you can just say, you go to the PaaS and say, here's my code, run it for me. I don't really care how. I don't care about if it's on a Kubernetes cluster or how that's configured. I just want to take like my source code, or like a jar file, like a compiled Java binary, things like that, and the platform will just take it. It will build a container for you. It will do kind of best practices security for that container and just run it. And I don't really care how that happens. At the end of the day, I want to do see a push, which is what we do to push an app to the platform, and I'm going to get a route, and it's going to be on a accessible URL, load balanced, auto scaling, health checks, logging. That's all done for me, and it took me a minute to deploy it, and I'm done.
Well, it's interesting, because I remember like the early days talking about DevOps, everyone's like, developers are going to take over infrastructure, and I was like, I don't think they want to carry pagers for that. Like, I don't think they really want to get into the IaaS layer. I think they just want to hand, like, okay, here's a WAR file. Like, I don't want to learn Tomcat. Go figure this. Go deploy it. Like,
exactly.
It sounds like though that, this perfect nirvana for selling to a developer of like, okay, you want to use Spring, just go consume it this way. Like, what are all some of those layers within that PaaS layer? What are all the different pieces?
Yeah, so like a big component of that is the build packs. So that the build packs enable you to just take that source code and the platform kind of gives the platform the playbook to how to make that container. So if there's a Java build pack, there's a Python build pack.
This is my header file for my app infra.
Yeah. So and then it's like, okay, now I know how to build a container, and the platform will then maintain that base level container and update it, and all the security patches for you automatically, so you don't have to worry about that. And then within the core of the platform, there's a runtime, an application runtime called Diego, and that's actually all of this technology predates the invention of Kubernetes, so it's been out for quite some time and very well battle tested. And that introduces a multi-tenant kind of app platform perspective. So it's got very hard multi-tenancy in it, which allows the platform to give the developers just enough infrastructure, but not necessarily low-level infrastructure that maybe a Kubernetes can give you and cause a conflict in a multi-tenant situation. So like in some of our Tanzu Platform deployments, we have tens of thousands of developers using a single platform. And in a Kubernetes landscape, you'd probably have to chunk that up into multiple or thousands of clusters, because you're potentially having conflicts like with the Kubernetes admin operators that want to deploy a load balancer, things of that nature. That's all abstracted away, and they don't have to worry about any of that. But at the same time, we see our
probably keeps things lighter weight also, because if you're giving every developer a tenancy like that has to deploy their own pair of load balancers, the scale of all that starts to become problematic at that crazy scale.
Yes, very much so. So that is it's an extremely efficient platform. So you don't have to manage all of those, that large scale of potential clusters. You have large, very well maintained and controlled environments that just kind of run themselves, so to speak, at this point.
So I know you've had a lot of customer conversations this week, and a lot of folks coming over to the booth, and I'm sure this question arises, but somebody comes in and says, wow, I've got VCF 9 and I now I have this Kubernetes thing, this VKS.
Yeah.
How do you explain how the Tanzu platform completes that VCF story?
Sure. So we start out with covering the Kubernetes service, and then even when we see within our customers, there are certain developer mindsets that you want to target. There's the developer mindset that they want to build their infrastructure. They want to build a Helm chart. They want to deploy a Kubernetes operator.
They want to manage it as well.
They want to manage it. They might not want to manage it after a year or two, but they want to do all those things, and that's fine. Give them the containers as a service. Give them what VCF has already, and that's great and wonderful, and that will make them happy. But then there's a lot of developers that are like, hey, I just want to write my code for my business application and go home and sleep at night. I don't want to worry about my cluster having some kind of ingress controller issue at 3 o'clock in the morning and my app's down. So that's the kind of two things of the CAS versus PaaS scenario.
Well, and also I can think if you're in a highly regulated industry or something where you want to minimize the amount of change or minimize the amount of exposure of what that dev can touch. I mean, I don't mean to talk about developers like they're Neanderthals are just going to go break things. I can also see you're just trying to minimize the amount of change and impact that they can have. It sounds like that more granular PaaS approach sounds more attractive.
Yeah, and it's an extremely attractive approach for some of our customers who are in large financial or government regulated areas where it may take them, many months to get some kind of pattern approved from their various security regulations. And once that gets approved, that's kind of the golden path to production, so to speak. But if in the Kubernetes landscape, they have to do that for every single one, that could be a problem. So having that controlled, regulated path that has been blessed by the organization, and this is how you deploy software in a secure manner and an efficient manner, that just becomes kind of that least path of resistance.
Inherit the happy path from the platform below.
That makes perfect sense.
Yeah, exactly.
But then how does it actually integrate into VCF?
Oh, perfect. So we've been integrating with vSphere or VCF for quite some time now. So we have direct integration with NSX.
Okay.
So if you want to extend the NSX networks into the PaaS, you can do that, and kind of get that full container to container like security and IP load, IP tracking, observability. So that's a great story there. And you couldn't really make a more secure network with NSX, and that's great story for VCF. We have integration with the Avi load balancer, which by far one of my favorite load balancers. I love to see that, and so we have that there. And even from the operations side of the house, I may be whatever we're calling Log Insight these days. I think VCF Logs. Maybe?
VCF Logs.
Okay,
that is
yeah.
actually you deploy it as a headless appliance, and then but you can get to the observability within the Ops UI.
I thought it was VCF.
I just spun this up in my lab 2 weeks ago.
So
Log Insight lives on. I promise.
Yes, I love that product. We have a great way we can send all of the platform logs and telemetry to that and use that as a great kind of logging tool. And not to mention alternatives, some of these logging tool alternatives can be extremely expensive, and having something out of the box
I know
with
exactly
VCF
who you're talking about, because they got bought by another company. I'm like, that must have been the renewal, $20 billion or whatever. I know. Some of the log platforms, I'm like, these things made out of gold or something?
Yes, like very, very expensive to our customers, and saying, hey, you can just take what you're getting with VCF, and Hawk talks about those renewal conversations. Definitely look into that too as well.
Yeah. Well, I also heard, and I know William Lamb is part of this, but I heard that there's an AI starter kit for Tanzu Platform. Can you tell me what that is?
Oh yeah. So one of my colleagues, Keith Lee.
We love Keith Lee.
Yeah, you probably know Keith Lee,
Great
right? So he was working on trying to kind of simplify this process of bootstrapping the platform. And we kind of saw that William Lamb had a script out from way back when about installing the pivotal Kubernetes service. So he kind of took that framework and updated it and modified it to work with all the current Tanzu bits per se. So it's a very if you've seen any of William Lamb's installer scripts, it's got a lot of themes from there. But we're trying to make it so that, hey, if you're interested in trying this out, you have a single PowerShell script. And it will ask you and check for all the different variables. Like, hey, give us a few IPs and vCenter, cluster and that type of thing, and that will help you bootstrap the platform to get you started in about 2 or 3 hours. And then in his guide, he's actually in the AI starter kit, he links to his GitHub repo, and it kind of walks you through how do you push an app to the platform, how do you bind a database or data service to the platform, how do you integrate with our AI services, that type of thing. And it's a very clean, very easy to use way to get started, and just definitely make sure we call that out for sure.
No, absolutely, and we're definitely going to leave links to that. So if you're watching this on our YouTube channel, first, hopefully you're subscribing. But secondly, it will be in the show notes. Will be a link to that, so you can get it. If you're just listening to it, it'll be in the show notes of the podcast. So we're here at VMware Explore. Lots of announcements going on. Anything in the Tanzu space that we want to talk about?
Oh boy, where to begin? So I think we had 2 big announcements. We're announcing Tanzu Platform version 10.3. and the launch of VMware Tanzu Data Intelligence. So those are kind of our 2 big announcements. So we'll go into data intelligence first, just because it's kind of a newer thing. But if we think about Snowflake or Databricks in the public cloud, that is VMware Tanzu Data Intelligence is the equivalent for VCF.
Okay.
Ooh, fancy.
Yeah. So we have, we kind of mentioned some of that tech before of Greenplum and Gemfire. These are massively, scalable
data warehouse.
Data warehouse, or I think the new term is data lakehouse and data lakehouse. Which, are we going on vacation or something?
Right,
I don't know.
No, Christos still needs to explain that to me probably.
So a lot of our customers are quite large, and they have data warehouses, data lakehouses, whatever you call them. It's all about enabling that process. And there's automation for, we have a thing called Tanzu Data Flow that helps build data pipelines and integrate all these, because you need to build all these pipelines and pull data from X, Y, Z to push it into here, and it's. I
thought that was CSV exports.
Yeah,
so.
well, I mean that's probably all what it is at the end of the day. But yes, yeah, Where
is Excel in my pipeline?
Yes, it starts out and then continues on, right?
It's all
it's all about collecting data and telemetry, and we actually we actually have a pretty live, cool demo in our
I saw the
booth.
demo. I saw the little
Did you
like
see the
glowing
little
circles
yeah.
and stuff flowing through all the different data.
Exactly. Yeah. So that was.
I didn't even know what half those things did. I was like, wow, this is some real like data hipster stuff.
Yes.
Here.
Yeah. Well,
there's cool sounding names. So.
Yes. Well, so it's actually the whole app suite was written by my boss, Dan Basquette, but it was a culmination of how do we show Tanzu Platform and Tanzu Data Intelligence working together. So we have a bunch of applications deployed on the platform, and then it's emulating. It's called Insurance Megacore. So we're emulating the safe driver chips that you put in your cars.
Oh.
Okay. And then it's taking all this telemetry and throwing it.
This is why Pete's insurance is so high. So.
Yeah. Well, yeah. We'll get there. So we're emulating those safe driver chips you put in your car. Then we're sending that data up to a RabbitMQ queue, and that queue is then splitting that data out, sending some of that data up to the lakehouse for like long-term storage, and the other one it's sending it to an event processor, and it's looking to see if maybe we have bad drivers or not, and then doing some other things with that and some artificial intelligence, AI intelligence processing on that to see what do we do with the bad drivers and things of that nature, and it kind of wires up even to a front end, and you can ask it questions of like, what's this policy look like, or like, all these different things. So it's a full suite of simulating, we wanted to really kind of build a real app that simulated all the technology, and of course it looks really cool on a screen, and people walk up and say, what are all these cool things?
It was actually the coolest demo I saw at any of the booths.
Is that demo available online or after the event for folks that are not here?
It's running in my lab right now, but we'll have that available. I'm sure we can send you the repos and stuff to get there. But yeah,
excellent. Yeah, well, that is an excellent segue, by the way, because first of all, thank you for joining us. This has been a really fascinating topic. We're going to be leaving links, as I mentioned in the show notes, to all of the announcements related to Tanzu. But this gentleman has a pretty humongous lab. Like, it's a pretty intense lab. He literally, it's called Kuhn Labs, appropriately. And he's running Tanzu in there, and he actually, like, all of the employees in Tanzu are actually using his labs because it's just so efficient. And so I do want to talk about that. We're going to do that in a separate episode.
Sure.
So I just want to tell you thank you for joining us on Virtually Speaking, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your week.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for having me.
All right.